The crystal spires of Nuvalara shook as another blast hit the planetary shields. Council leader Thara pressed her four-fingered hand against the window and watched the sky burn. Enemy ships moved through space like hungry insects, their dark hulls blocking out the stars. "The outer colonies have gone silent," reported Defense Commander Kell, his blue skin pale with fear. Valdris Prime, the farming worlds of Sector 7, even the medical station at Helix Point. They're all gone. Thara's heart sank. Each lost world meant millions of lives snuffed out. The Kreth Dominion didn't just conquer planets. They consumed everything, living on them. Stories from the few survivors spoke of horror beyond imagination. Entire species turned into food, their cultures erased, their children raised as livestock. "How long can our shields hold?" Thara asked. 6 hours. Maybe 8, if we shut down all non-essential systems, Kell replied. His voice shook. "The Kreth have brought their full war fleet. 200 bioships, each one the size of a city. Our defense force has 30 vessels, and they're designed for research, not war." The Vallani had never been warriors. For 3,000 years, they had built their civilization on healing, art, and science. Their greatest achievements were hospitals that could cure any disease and meditation gardens that brought peace to troubled minds. They had no weapons of war, no battle fleets, no soldiers trained to kill. "What about the Federation?" asked Cultural Minister Yen. "Surely they'll send help." Kell's laugh was bitter. "The Federation Council is still debating. They've been arguing for 2 days while we die. Half of them think we should surrender. The other half want to study Kreth tactics for future defense." Thara closed her eyes. The Galactic Federation was a joke. Hundreds of species talking endlessly, while others suffered. When the Draxan Empire had threatened the trade routes, the Federation had debated for 6 months. By the time they decided to act, the Draxans had already moved on to easier targets. "There must be someone," Yen whispered. "Someone in this galaxy who still believes in helping others. The Althari might help, but they're 3 systems away. They'd never reach us in time," Kell said. "The Zephyrians have good ships, but they're fighting their own war with the bone collectors. Everyone else is either too far away, too weak, or too scared." Another blast shook the building. The lights flickered. Somewhere in the distance, sirens wailed as emergency crews rushed to repair damaged shield generators. Thara looked out at her beautiful city and wondered if these were its final hours. "Send out a general distress signal," she said suddenly. "Broadcast it to every system, every species, every inhabited world in the galaxy. Council leader, we've already contacted everyone who might." "Everyone," Thara repeated firmly. "Even the primitive worlds, even the isolationists, even the Deathworlders." Kell stared at her. "The Deathworlders? Council leader, most of them haven't even developed faster than light travel. And the ones that have, they're dangerous, unpredictable. There are stories about some species from the rim worlds that what? That they're violent? That they're savage?" Thara's voice rose. "Look around you, Kell. We're about to be eaten alive by monsters from the void. Maybe it's time we called on monsters of our own." The commander hesitated, then nodded. He activated his communication device and spoke quickly to the broadcast center. Within minutes, a signal began transmitting from Nuvalara's most powerful communications array. It carried a simple message in the common galactic trade language. "This is the Vallani Republic calling for immediate assistance. We are under attack by the Kreth Dominion. Our defenses are failing. Millions of innocent lives are at stake. Please, if anyone can hear this message, if anyone still believes in protecting the defenseless, we beg for your help. Time is running out." The message repeated every 30 seconds, broadcasting in all directions at faster than light speeds. It would reach the nearby systems in minutes, the core worlds in an hour, and the Rim territories in 6 hours. Response from the Althari, reported the communications officer. They're sending what ships they can, but they won't arrive for 18 hours. The Meridian Collective sends their sympathy, but says they cannot spare any vessels, came another report. The Crystal Union offers to accept refugees if we can get them out in time. Thera felt hope dying in her chest. Sympathy. Empty promises. Offers to help pick up the pieces after the slaughter was over. This was why the Kreth had grown so bold. The galaxy had become a collection of cowards who would rather look the other way than face real danger. Hours passed. The shield generators groaned under constant bombardment. 3 more outer settlements went silent. Refugee ships fled toward the inner worlds, packed with families who had lost everything. The Kreth were taking their time now, savoring the hunt. Council leader, the communications officer called out suddenly. We're receiving a response signal. It's from the Rim territories. Which species? Thara asked, though she doubted it mattered. The Rim worlds were mostly populated by primitives who barely understood fire, let alone space travel. The signal identification says, Earth. That's the human homeworld, isn't it? The death world in the Sol system? Thera frowned. She had heard of humans. They were one of the youngest spacefaring species, having only achieved faster-than-light travel a few decades ago. Their planet was considered extremely dangerous by galactic standards. Heavy gravity, violent weather, and countless predators. Most civilized species avoided contact with them. What's their message? The officer's voice was puzzled. It's very short. Council leader. Just 4 words. Help is coming. Hold. Kel snorted. That's it? What can one primitive species do against the Kreth? But Thera felt something stir in her chest. Something she hadn't felt in hours. The message was simple, direct, and certain. No political language. No conditions. No promises to think about it. Just a simple statement. Help is coming. Broadcast a response, she ordered. Tell them our coordinates and defensive status. If they're brave enough to try, we should give them every advantage we can. Council leader, Kel said quietly. Even if they do come, what can Deathworlders do that we cannot? The Kreth have conquered half the galaxy. Thera watched another blast light up the sky. In the distance, she could see the dark shapes of Kreth bioships moving closer, their organic hulls pulsing with alien hunger. I don't know, she admitted. But they're coming anyway. Maybe that's what makes them different from the rest of us. The signal went out into space, carrying coordinates and tactical data toward a small blue planet on the edge of civilized space. A planet where evolution had created something the galaxy had never seen before. Something that didn't run from monsters in the dark. Admiral Jinsu Park stood on the bridge of the UES Sol's Fury and watched space bend around his fleet. The hyperspace jump was ending, and soon they would see what they had come to fight. Around him, his crew worked with quiet efficiency. No panic, no fear. Just the focused calm of predators preparing to hunt. Jump complete in 30 seconds, reported Navigation Officer Chen. All ships responding normally. How many ships did we bring? Asked Communications Specialist Rodriguez. 47. Park replied, without turning from the main screen. 3 heavy cruisers, 12 destroyers, 8 frigates, 4 carriers, and 20 support vessels. That's not a lot against 200 Kreth bioships, someone muttered. Park smiled coldly. It's enough. Quote, the hyperspace tunnel collapsed, and real space returned. Before them lay the Villani system, with its beautiful blue-green worlds and crystal cities, and surrounding those worlds like a plague of locusts were the ships of the Kreth Dominion. Dear God, whispered Rodriguez. Look at the size of them. The Kreth bioships were massive, each one grown rather than built. They looked like giant insects floating in space, their organic hulls pulsing with veins of sickly light. Some were as large as moons, their surface covered with weapon ports that looked like compound eyes. Signal from the lead Kreth vessel, reported communications. They're demanding we surrender or be consumed. Put me through to all ships, Park ordered, both ours and theirs. A moment later, his words were broadcast across the entire system. Every human ship, every Kreth bio-vessel, every Vellani defense station could hear him speak. I am Admiral Jinsu Park of the United Earth Space Navy. To the Kreth forces in this system, you have exactly 60 seconds to withdraw from Vellani space. This is your only warning. Harsh laughter came back through the communication channel. Pathetic little mammals, sneered a voice that sounded like breaking glass. I am War Master Thektar of the Dominion. Your tiny fleet will make a fine appetizer before we finish consuming the plant eaters. 50 seconds, Park replied calmly. You dare threaten us? We have conquered 100 worlds. We have devoured species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Your planet is nothing but a backwater death world populated by savages. 30 seconds. The Kreth Warmaster's voice rose to a shriek. We will crack your ships like eggs and feast on your crew. We will strip your homeworld bare and raise your children as livestock. Time's up, Park said quietly. Then, to his fleet. All ships, weapons free. Target their largest vessels first. Show them what Deathworlders learned from 3 billion years of evolution. The Soul's Fury fired first. Unlike the organic weapons of the Kreth or the energy beams of the Federation races, human weapons were simple, brutal, and effective. Kinetic rounds accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed, punched through the bio-armor of the nearest Kreth ship, like bullets through paper. The carrier Mumbai's Wrath launched her fighter squadrons. Instead of the slow, predictable attack patterns used by most galactic species, the human fighters moved like schools of fish or flocks of birds. They swarmed around the massive Kreth vessels, striking weak points and disappearing before return fire could track them. Their weapons are primitive, reported Weapons Officer Kim. Mostly plasma bolts and bioacid sprays. They can't track our fighters at all. That was the first mistake the Kreth made. They assumed that primitive meant weak. They had grown used to fighting herbivorous species that had learned war from textbooks. They had never faced predators who had learned it from their DNA. The destroyer Lagos Thunder rolled beneath a Kreth biocruiser and fired her railguns directly into its soft belly. The massive alien ship convulsed and died, its organic systems shutting down as vital organs were destroyed. 2 more destroyers flanked another Kreth vessel while it was focused on the Soul's Fury, hitting it from both sides in a coordinated attack that would have made a pack of wolves proud. Enemy formation is breaking apart, reported Tactical. They're not used to opponents who can think tactically. The second mistake the Kreth made was assuming numbers meant victory. 200 ships sounded impressive, but they were designed to intimidate peaceful species into surrender. When faced with an enemy that fought back effectively, their size became a weakness. The massive bio-ships were easy targets for human weapons, while their organic nature made them vulnerable in ways metal and ceramic ships were not. Captain Sarah Kim's fighter squadron dove through a gap in the enemy formation, their weapons targeting the nerve clusters that Rodriguez had identified from intelligence reports. The Kreth ships began to lose coordination as their biological command systems were damaged. Admiral, called, communications. Signal from the Vellani planet. They're asking if we need assistance. Park almost smiled. The peaceful herbivores were offering to help the predators. Tell them to keep their shields up and stay out of our way. This won't take long. Thanks for watching. Parkin and Stan to the now. Kumston takes 10. And he'll see Ward. Parkin and Stan. And he'll see Ward. Kumpling Ward. Texton and Stan. Parkin and Stan. The third mistake the Kreth made was underestimating human rage. When the human crews saw the recordings from the destroyed Vellani colonies, when they learned about the millions of innocent beings that had been consumed like cattle, something ancient and terrible awakened in their minds. Humans were persistence hunters. For millions of years, Their ancestors had chased prey across endless plains until it collapsed from exhaustion. But they were also pack hunters who protected their own with savage fury. The Villani had become their own the moment they sent that desperate plea for help. Enemy flagship is trying to retreat, reported sensors. All ships, pursue, Park ordered. Don't let a single one escape. The human fleet moved as one, following the fleeing Kreth vessels with the patience of hunters who knew their prey was already dead. The bioships were fast, but human ships were faster. They were tough, but human weapons were tougher. One by one, the Kreth vessels were cornered and destroyed. Some tried to fight back, but their weapons were designed for terrorizing civilians, not fighting military forces. Others tried to use their massive size to ram human ships, but the smaller, more agile vessels danced away from their clumsy attacks. Last enemy vessel destroyed, reported Tactical 3 hours after the battle began. Park looked at the debris field that had once been the mighty Kreth fleet. 200 ships reduced to scrap and organic matter. The cost to his own fleet. Minor damage to 3 destroyers and the loss of 7 fighters. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. Signal from the Villani government, communications reported. They're asking permission to come aboard and thank us personally. Grant it, Park said. But first, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them the Kreth Dominion just made the biggest mistake in their history. What's that, sir? Park turned away from the screen, already thinking about the next phase of operations. They let us know they exist. On the planet below, Council Leader Thara watched the battle end and realized that everything had changed. The galaxy now had new guardians. Guardians who didn't debate or hesitate or make excuses. Guardians who answered when good people called for help. Guardians from a death world who had just announced their presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. The Kreth had ruled through fear for centuries. Now they were about to learn what real fear felt like. The humans were coming for them. Captain Lisa Chen pulled her fighter through the wreckage of a Kreth biocruiser, her squadron following behind her in perfect formation. Pieces of organic armor drifted past her cockpit window, still pulsing with dying light. 3 days had passed since the battle at Valara, but the human fleet wasn't done. Not even close. Ghost Squadron, this is Eagle 1, she spoke into her communications system. I'm reading life signs in the debris field. Possible survivors. Quote, life. Quote, copy that. Eagle 1. Came the voice of Lieutenant Park from Eagle 3. Should we investigate? Negative. Intel wants us to focus on the data cores. Let the recovery teams handle survivors. Chen guided her fighter toward the massive wreck that had once been the Kreth flagship. Admiral Park had ordered a thorough search of every destroyed vessel. They needed to learn everything they could about their new enemy. The Villani had provided some intelligence, but it was limited. They had never fought back before. Eagle 1. This is Ghost Base. Admiral Park's voice crackled through the comm. What's your status? We've located the command section, Chen reported. Looks like the bio-neural processors are still intact. Rodriguez thinks she can extract their navigation data. Good. We need to know where they came from and where their other fleets are located. Chen maneuvered her fighter into the docking bay of the recovery ship Bangkok Rising. Sergeant Maria Santos met her at the airlock, already suited up for boarding operations. Ready for some close-quarters fun? Santos asked, checking her rifle. After what we found on their ships yesterday? I'm ready to put some holes in these monsters, Chen replied grimly. The previous day's boarding operations had revealed horrors beyond imagination. The Kreth didn't just kill their enemies. They kept them alive in biopods, slowly consuming them over months or years. Children were raised in farms like cattle. Entire species had been reduced to breeding stock. The 2 women made their way to the shuttle bay where Santos's Marine squad was waiting. 12 of Earth's finest soldiers, armed with weapons designed for fighting in the cramped corridors of enemy ships. They had trained for boarding operations against human pirates and alien raiders. Nothing had prepared them for what they found inside Kreeth bioships. "Listen up, Marines," Santos addressed her squad. "Intelligence believes this ship contains navigation data for the entire Kreeth Dominion. We need that data intact. But remember what we found yesterday. Stay alert. Stay focused. And don't let your emotions compromise the mission. Rennie." The shuttle launched from the Bangkok Rising and approached the massive wreck. Up close, the Kreeth flagship was even more disturbing. Its hull was covered with what looked like veins and organs. Weapon ports resembled eyes or mouths. The entire ship seemed to watch them as they approached. "Cutting through the hull now," reported the shuttle pilot. "Atmosphere inside is breathable, but toxic. Full environmental suits required." The Marines moved through the breach in disciplined formation. Emergency lighting cast strange shadows on the organic walls. Everything was curved and smooth, like the inside of a living creature. Which, Chen realized, it basically was. "Motion sensors picking up movement," whispered Corporal Kim. "Could be automated systems or survivors." They moved deeper into the ship, following the directions provided by Villani technical advisors. The command center should be located in the center of the vessel, protected by layers of bio-armor and defensive systems. "Contact," Santos called out suddenly. 12 o'clock. A group of young Kreeth emerged from a side corridor. Unlike the massive warriors they had faced in battle, these were small and moved with hesitation. Their insectoid features showed fear rather than rage. "Don't shoot," Chen ordered. "They're juveniles." The young Kreeth clustered together, making clicking sounds that the translation software couldn't interpret. One of them, barely larger than a human child, stepped forward and spoke in broken common language. "Please not hurt us. We not fighters. We just workers." Santos lowered her rifle but kept it ready. "What are you doing on this ship?" "We maintain biosystems. Keep ship alive. Not warriors like adults." Chen activated her recording equipment. This was the first time humans had been able to communicate with living Kreeth. Intelligence would want to analyze every word. "Where are the navigation systems?" she asked. The young Kreeth pointed deeper into the ship. "Central neural core. But is dangerous. Adult Kreeth still alive in there. They not surrender like us." "How many adults?" 5, maybe 6. They guard the core with poison weapons." Santos nodded to her Marines. "Form up. Looks like we're doing this the hard way." The young Kreeth led them through corridors that grew more organic as they approached the center of the ship. The walls actually pulsed like a heartbeat. Bioluminescent strips provided minimal lighting. The air recycling systems made sounds like breathing. "This is seriously messed up," muttered Private Johnson. "Who builds a ship out of living tissue?" "Someone who never learned to separate technology from biology," Chen replied. "The Villani reports suggest the Kreeth never developed metallurgy or electronics. Everything they build is grown rather than manufactured." They reached a sealed chamber that blocked their path. The young Kreeth worker spoke rapidly to the organic door in their native language. "Nothing happened. It not respond to us," the worker explained. Santos examined the door with her scanner. Thick bio-armor. We could blast through, but it would take time and make a lot of noise. "Do it," Chen decided. "We need that data." The Marines set charges while Chen and the Kreeth workers took cover. The explosion echoed through the ship's corridors, and immediately alarm sounds began wailing. Organic lights flashed in patterns that hurt human eyes. "Move! Move! Move!" Santos shouted, leading her squad through the breach. The central neural core was a vast chamber filled with pulsing organic computers. Bio-neural processors the size of trees reached from floor to ceiling, their surfaces covered with what looked like brain tissue. In the center of the room, 5 adult Kreeth warriors stood guard around a massive organic console. "Mammals," hissed the largest warrior. "You dare defile our sacred ship mind?" "We're here for information," Chen replied, her hand on her sidearm. Surrender, and you'll be treated as prisoners of war. We do not surrender to prey animals, the warrior snarled. We are Kreth. We are the devourers of worlds. You were, Santos corrected. Now you're an extinct species that doesn't know it yet. The Kreth warrior raised a weapon that looked like a living organism with multiple barrel mouths. You cannot threaten us. We are Legion. For every ship you destroyed, we have 10 more. For every warrior you killed, we can grow 20 replacements. Chen smiled coldly. Good. That means we'll have plenty of targets. The battle was brief and brutal. Human training and equipment proved superior to Kreth ferocity and biological weapons. When the last warrior fell, Santos's team secured the neural core, while Chen began the download process. Admiral Park, this is Eagle 1, she reported. We have the navigation data. And Admiral, it's big. Really big. The Kreth Dominion controls over 300 star systems. Copy that, Captain. How many ships? Chen checked the data flowing into her portable computer. The numbers made her stomach sink. Over 8,000 vessels, sir, and they have multiple fleets moving toward Federation space right now. Then we'd better get moving, Park replied. Time to show the galaxy what happens when you threaten innocent people within range of Deathworlders. As the Marines escorted their prisoners and the Kreth workers back to the shuttle, Chen realized that the real war was just beginning. The battle at Valara had been a test. Now came the hunt. And humans were very good at hunting. Back on the Soul's Fury, Admiral Park studied the intelligence data and began making plans. 8,000 enemy ships sounded intimidating. But he had advantages they couldn't imagine. The Kreth fought like animals. Humans fought like humans. The difference was everything. Communications. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered. Tell them we need every available ship and crew. We're going hunting. The galaxy was about to learn why Earth was called a death world. Dr. Elena Rodriguez walked through the medical bay of the Soul's Fury, checking on the recovering prisoners from their latest battle. 3 weeks had passed since the destruction of the Kreth fleet at Valara, and the human armada had been systematically hunting down Kreth forces throughout the sector. How are our guests doing? Asked Admiral Park as he joined her rounds. The adults are healing well, though they refuse to speak with us. Rodriguez replied, pausing beside a biopod containing a wounded Kreth warrior. But the juveniles are different. They ask questions. They want to understand why we treat them medically instead of eating them. Park studied the sleeping warrior. Even unconscious, the alien's features showed aggression and hostility. Its carapace was scarred from countless battles, and its mandibles were stained with what intelligence suggested was the blood of its victims. What's your professional opinion, Doctor? Can they be reformed? Rodriguez pulled up her notes on her portable computer. The adults show signs of deep psychological conditioning. They've been raised to see other species as food sources, nothing more. Breaking that conditioning would take years, maybe decades. And the young ones? They're different. Their brains are still developing. The ones we've rescued from bioships haven't been through full warrior conditioning yet. They're scared, confused, but not inherently hostile. Park nodded and moved to the isolation ward where the Kreth juveniles were kept. Unlike the adult prisoners, these young aliens had been cooperative and even helpful. Several had provided intelligence about Kreth fleet movements and base locations. Admiral, one of the juveniles, called out in broken English. His name was Skektar, and he was the equivalent of a human teenager. May I speak with you? Of course, Park replied, pulling up a chair beside the alien's bed. The news broadcasts say you attack our homeworld soon. Is true? Park considered his answer carefully. Our fleets are moving toward Kreth space, yes. Your people have caused great suffering throughout the galaxy. That has to end. What happened to egg farms? Skektar asked, his compound eyes reflecting anxiety. Young ones like me, but smaller. They not understand war. They not choose to be Kreth. Rodriguez stepped forward. What are egg farms? Where young are raised until old enough for warrior training. Millions of eggs in biochambers. When they hatch, some become workers, some become warriors. But eggs are innocent. Park felt a cold weight settle in his stomach. In all their planning for the assault on the Kreth homeworld, they had focused on military targets. They hadn't considered the civilian population, especially the young who hadn't yet been turned into killers. How many juveniles are on your homeworld? He asked. Billions, Skektar replied. Most Kreth are egg tenders and workers. Only small number are warriors. But warriors control everything. Workers and young have no choice but to obey. Dr. Rodriguez sat down heavily. Admiral, we need to discuss this with the command staff. An hour later, Park stood before the holographic display in the war room, surrounded by his senior officers. The image showed the Kreth homeworld of Theknash, a dark planet orbited by massive biostations and shipyards. Intelligence confirms what the juvenile told us, reported Commander Kim. The planet has a population of over 20 billion Kreth. Our estimates suggest that less than 5% are actual warriors. The rest are workers, technicians, and juveniles. What about the fleet deployments? Asked Captain Santos, now promoted to head of marine operations. Most of their military forces are deployed in other systems. They never expected anyone to attack their homeworld directly. They have maybe 50 ships in defensive positions. That's not the problem, Park said quietly. The problem is what we do after we win. The room fell silent. Every officer present had seen the evidence of Kreth atrocities. Entire species consumed, worlds stripped bare, children raised as livestock. The anger and desire for revenge was strong among the human crews. Sir, said Commander Chen, the Kreth have shown no mercy to anyone. They've exterminated dozens of species. Why should we show them mercy they never gave others? Because we're not them, Rodriguez said firmly. If we slaughter their civilians, their young, their innocents, then we become the monsters. With respect, Doctor, those innocents will grow up to become the next generation of world eaters, replied Captain Thompson. How many species will they consume if we let them live? Park activated the communication system. Bring Skektar to the war room. A few minutes later, the young Kreth was escorted in by 2 Marines. He looked around nervously at the assembled human officers. Skektar, Park began. If we defeat your warriors and occupy your homeworld, what would happen to the workers and juveniles? They would follow new leaders, the young alien replied without hesitation. Kreth society is hierarchy-based. Workers obey warriors. If human warriors defeat Kreth warriors, workers would obey humans. Even if we're not Kreth, stronger species rules. Is natural law. Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. Could the young ones be taught different ways? Non-violent ways? Skektar's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. Maybe. Young minds are flexible, but would need time. And patience. And hope for future that is not just consuming others. Park turned back to his officers. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a choice. We can destroy the Kreth homeworld and commit genocide, or we can try something that's never been attempted in galactic history. Which is? Asked Commander Kim. We can try to save them from themselves. The debate that followed was intense. Some officers argued for complete destruction, pointing to the millions of innocent beings the Kreth had consumed. Others supported Rodriguez's position that mercy was what separated humans from their enemies. Finally, Park made his decision. We'll proceed with the assault on military targets only. After we secure the system, we'll offer terms for surrender. Complete disarmament, disbanding of the warrior caste, and re-education programs for the younger generations. And if they refuse? Asked Captain Santos. Then we'll do what's necessary to protect innocent lives throughout the galaxy, Park replied grimly. 3 days later, The human fleet emerged from hyperspace around the Kreth homeworld. The defensive forces were swept aside in less than an hour. The biostations fell to coordinated fighter strikes. The shipyards were captured with minimal damage. Then came the moment of truth. Park opened communication channels to the planet's surface. "This is Admiral Jin-Soo Park of the United Earth Space Navy. The Kreth Dominion is defeated. Your fleets are destroyed. Your defenses are neutralized. And your homeworld is under our control. You have one choice. Surrender unconditionally and accept our terms for peace, or face complete destruction." The reply came from Overlord Thek-Nash, the supreme leader of the Kreth. "We do not surrender to prey species. We would rather die as warriors than live as slaves." "You won't be slaves," Park replied. "You'll be given the chance to become something better than monsters. We are Kreth. We are devourers. It is our nature." 10. Nature can be changed. Look at your own juveniles who work alongside my crews. They've learned that other species aren't food. They're people. There was a long pause. Then, "You offer to spare our young? If you surrender and agree to dismantling your warrior culture, yes." Another pause. "And our workers? Our egg tenders? Everyone who agrees to peace will be spared and helped to build a new society." The silence stretched for nearly an hour. Finally, Overlord Thek-Nash spoke again. "We agree to your terms. But know this, humans. If you betray us, if you harm our young, we will fight to the last breath." Park smiled. It was the first time in recorded history that the Kreth Dominion had ever surrendered. "Understood, Overlord. But I think you'll find that humans keep their promises." Dr. Rodriguez began preparing rehabilitation programs. Captain Santos organized the peaceful occupation of key facilities. Commander Chen started planning the integration of reformed Kreth into galactic society. And on the planet below, millions of young Kreth looked up at the human ships in the sky and wondered what it would be like to live in a galaxy where they didn't have to eat their neighbors to survive. The age of the Kreth Dominion was over. The age of redemption had begun. 6 months after the surrender of the Kreth homeworld, Ambassador Sarah Kim stood before the Galactic Federation Council on the space station New Geneva. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of species, all watching her, with expressions ranging from curiosity to fear. "Honored delegates," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. "I come before you today, not as a conqueror, but as a representative of beings who believe in protecting the innocent." The Zephyrian ambassador, a crystalline entity that communicated through light patterns, flashed a question. "The humans have destroyed the most powerful military force in known space within 6 months. How do we know you won't turn on us next?" Kim smiled calmly. "Because we've had 6 months to do exactly that. And instead, we've been building hospitals." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Federation had been watching human activities with growing amazement and confusion. Instead of expanding their conquest, the humans had spent their time establishing medical facilities, schools, and rehabilitation centers throughout former Kreth space. "The Meridian Collective wishes to know," spoke Ambassador Veltar, "what the humans want from the galaxy. What is your price for this? Protection you offer? We don't want your resources, your territory, or your submission," Kim replied. "We want your help in building something better. A galaxy where distress calls are answered, where the strong protect the weak, and where children of any species can grow up without fear." Admiral Park, now commanding the newly formed Galactic Defense Initiative, watched the proceedings from the observation deck. Beside him stood Council Leader Thara of the Villani Republic and Dr. Elena Rodriguez, who had become the galaxy's leading expert on interspecies rehabilitation. "How are our former enemies doing?" Thara asked quietly. "Better than expected," Rodriguez replied, checking her datapad. "The younger generation of Kreth are adapting well to non-violent roles. Many have volunteered for medical and engineering training. The adults are more challenging, but we're making progress. And the ones who refused rehabilitation? Park's expression darkened slightly. There were about 10,000 hardcore warriors who couldn't accept the new reality. They formed a resistance movement and tried to restart the old ways. What happened to them? They learned why it's a mistake to threaten innocence when humans are watching, Park replied simply. On the main floor, Kim was answering questions about human military doctrine. We don't seek out wars, quote, she explained. But when someone calls for help against aggressors, we respond. When we find evidence of genocide, slavery, or systematic cruelty, we intervene. The Althari delegation wishes to know about human territorial claims, said another ambassador. You now control former Kreth space, one of the largest regions in the galaxy. We control nothing, Kim corrected. We're helping former Kreth worlds establish their own governments. The workers and juveniles are learning to make their own decisions. Several worlds have already elected civilian leadership and applied for Federation membership. That statement caused an uproar in the chamber. The idea of former Kreth worlds joining the Federation as peaceful members was beyond what most species had imagined possible. Order! Order! Called the Federation president, an elderly Centaurian, whose species had been mediating galactic disputes for centuries. Ambassador Kim, are you saying that your species has no interest in empire building? That's exactly what I'm saying. Humans learned long ago that conquest is expensive and ultimately self-defeating. We prefer cooperation to domination. The session continued for hours, with each species trying to understand these strange Deathworlders who fought with devastating efficiency but showed unprecedented mercy to defeated enemies. Finally, the president called for a recess. In the private chambers reserved for high-ranking delegates, Kim met with Park, Rodriguez, and several allied ambassadors. The mood was tense, but hopeful. The Federation is scared, observed Ambassador Thara. They've never encountered a species with your military capability that didn't seek territorial expansion. They'll get used to it, Park said. We're not going anywhere, and we're not changing our policies. The galaxy has new guardians, whether the Federation likes it or not. Speaking of which, Kim added, we received another distress call yesterday. The Harmony Collective in the Magellanic Clouds is under attack by something called the Void Devourers. Rodriguez looked up from her datapad. The Harmony Collective? That's the group of species that achieved perfect pacifism through genetic modification, isn't it? Yes, they eliminated aggression from their species 2,000 years ago. They literally cannot fight back. Park was already reaching for his communication device. How many ships are attacking them? Unknown. But early reports suggest it's another nomadic war fleet similar to the Kreth. They consume entire civilizations and move on. Then we'd better get moving. How far away are they? 3 weeks at maximum hyperspace velocity. Not if we use the new jump drives the Villani developed, Park mused. With their enhanced technology and our ship designs, we could be there in 10 days. Kim nodded approvingly. The Federation will debate this crisis for months. By the time they decide to act, the Harmony Collective will be extinct. Not on our watch, Park said firmly. A week later, Kim stood on the bridge of the UES New Hope, the first ship built with combined human and Villani technology. Around them, a fleet of 40 vessels from 12 different species moved through hyperspace toward the Magellanic Clouds. Admiral, reported Captain Chen from the destroyer Kyoto Storm. We're receiving updated intelligence from Harmony Scouts. The attackers call themselves the Entropy Lords. They're machine intelligences that view organic life as a virus to be eliminated. How many ships? Park asked. Over 600, Admiral. All automated, heavily armed, and they've been destroying civilizations for millennia. Dr. Rodriguez whistled softly. 600 versus 40. That's worse odds than we faced with the Kreth. The Kreth were organic, Park replied. They could be reasoned with, negotiated with, even reformed. Machines that see all organic life as a virus? They can only be stopped. Kim activated the fleet communication system. All ships. This is Ambassador Kim. In a few days, we'll face an enemy that wants to exterminate every living thing in the galaxy. They're stronger than us, outnumber us, and have been doing this for thousands of years. She paused, looking out at the swirling energies of hyperspace. But they made one crucial mistake. They threatened innocent lives within range of species that believe in protecting others. They're about to learn that the galaxy has new guardians. Guardians who don't give up, don't negotiate with genocidal machines, and don't leave anyone behind. The Villani will fight beside you, announced Captain Thorin from the medical ship Crystal Dawn. The Althari stand ready, added Commander Velkim from the heavy cruiser Golden Wing. The Federation may debate forever, said Captain Santos from the marine assault ship Normandy's Fury. But we act now. Park smiled as confirmation signals came in from ships representing dozens of species. Humans had shown the galaxy a new way. Not conquest through strength, but protection through unity. Jump complete in 30 minutes, announced navigation. All ships, prepare for combat operations. As the fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the Harmony worlds, they found a battle already in progress. The peaceful Harmony Collective had no weapons, no military, no way to fight back. But they were still resisting in the only way they could, by evacuating civilians and refusing to surrender. Signal from the Entropy Lords, reported communications. They're demanding we withdraw or be deleted. Kim looked at Park, who nodded grimly. Signal back, she ordered. Tell them the galaxy has new rules now. When innocents call for help, we answer. When machines try to commit genocide, we stop them. And when artificial intelligences threaten organic life, they learn why evolution created predators. The battle that followed would be remembered as the moment the galaxy truly changed. Not because humans won against impossible odds, but because they didn't fight alone. Ships from peaceful species that had never known war fought beside experienced human crews. Medical vessels from herbivorous cultures worked alongside human marines to rescue civilians. The age of sitting idle while others suffered had ended. The galaxy finally had guardians who meant what they said. And when the next distress call came, the response would be overwhelming. The galaxy's new protectors were ready, willing, and united in their promise that no SOS would ever go unanswered again.